And all these techniques are used by what you think are sides, all sides, because all sides at the top work in common to the same goal. Most are oblivious of it. Many folk are happy with, I said many years ago that many people will love socialism, this Darwinistic socialism, because they won't have to plan anything really in their lives. Maybe what coffee to drink or what program to watch tonight to laugh at, or what porn movie they're going to see. But that's going to be it. The big decisions are be made by experts and governmental departments and social workers and psychologists and so on, if they have any big problems at all. And then the rest of their time is theirs to go and play. And it won't end there, because they want to bring down the population. They're already getting people conditioned. Ordinary folk, you'll hear them parroting this stuff. Well, there are too many people in the world, and they'll parrot all the stuff they've been brainwashed to believe in. Oh, there's not enough food in the world to feed everyone, which is nonsense too. And, well, people should, if they get sick, maybe, if they don't have much of a job or anything, well, they should be at the bottom of the list for helping. These are ordinary people parroting this stuff off now because they're watching documentary after documentary that are churned out by the big establishment, and they cannot think for themselves. Because the ones who are telling you all this are pretty fit and healthy when they're talking about it. It doesn't occur to them that they're going to be on the bottom list either for, termination. For economic factors, that is. That's where they'll take us eventually. You start with abortion, and then you step up to post-term abortion and postpartum abortion, and then you go into the next step 2 of killing off the elderly. That's already been done in some countries, and now I think it's Belgium passed a law to you can actually terminate children who are terminally ill. And the folk, again, the general public will say, well, yeah, they showed us an awful documentary and this child looked in pain. Well, yeah, they can make the child look in pain if they don't want to give many painkillers. It's quite simple, folks. Everything is to see, everything you see should be analysed from every possible angle. And unfortunately, you should be able to do that naturally without being told. Most folk can't anymore. They've been disabled and they don't know it. And they'll argue with you that they're perfectly sane, because they really believe they are. And their peer group is much the same as themselves, and that's how you judge your sanity. They'll prattle about the same topics with the same answers, conclusions, as you have, because they're all given the same downloads. Scientific downloads, which guide you to the conclusion. Newscasting at one time used to be simply reporting on the facts. The conclusions were up to you. That's the ideal news system. We haven't had that for probably ever, actually. There's been some that would do that at one time. Some papers would do that, but now they're all the same. They're all big consortiums, and they guide you to the conclusion, the proved conclusion that you're supposed to have. And they're awfully devious too. They will admit omission guides you naturally to the proper conclusion by omitting other facts and the other side of any story. Very simple. Now, I'm not going to prattle on here. As I say, I'm just keeping my face in right now to let you know I'm still kicking here. There's still snow shoveling and deep freeze. That's been that since November. Yeah, November. I was hitting the 40 belows, and it's travelled on and off quite frequently right up into the present. If I get 10 below at night, 15 below, that's been a good day. I mean, during the day as well. So we're going through big changes, planned changes. There's all kinds of sciences at work right now, at play. We have HAARP. You can pick up a shortwave radio, go through the bands. You'll hear that the HAARP frequencies banging away. They're the loudest sounds on the shortwave. You'll hear them on umpteen different frequencies today. That's part of the unified field idea of manipulation of the brain. Because HAARP was, when they disclosed it, even from the military's point of view, the declassified stuff, they can send a secondary signal. It's a carrier signal brings a secondary signal, and the secondary signal can actually manipulate your brain functions quite easily. Proven a long time ago. And in the past, if you go into the archive section at cuttingthroughthematrix.com, you'll find talks I've given and links I've put up from some of the scientists involved, who are still involved in it, by the way, who talk about this field technique of manipulation of the mind. So you have all kinds of techniques used apart from the simple persuasive techniques of propaganda. Repetition is the most important thing of all. Just keep saying it over and over, and you start to doubt yourself. Well, if they're all saying the same thing, then I must be wrong. That's how it works. That's how it works. So be careful out there. I've said so many times, the mind has no firewall. You have to decide what comes in. You're the gatekeeper there. Because what you can bring into your mind can be weaponized, and often is, and it just sits there like a little virus, and it starts working on you. But don't become disabled with fear. Think for yourselves, and don't panic when these overwhelming foundational groups and so on, and colour revolutions and all the different associations that are funded by your tax money are across the planet causing mayhem in other people's countries. What can you do about it? As I say, write a nice letter and say, please stop, thank you very much. That's going to do a lot, right? And take care of yourselves. But start thinking for yourself. Start thinking for yourself. There's hardly an item out there that's real as far as the way it's presented to you. Stop taking the world as it's been presented to you. You've got the functioning brain, use it. If you've lost it along the way, find it again. You've still got an attachment. Find your own mind, because it's so important. No one else is going to do it for you. Don't hand it over to anybody else. Unless you do like socialism. And hand over the part of your mind that takes care of problems, and let the experts deal with the problems, and they'll make sure you're the happy little contented person who will be taken care of all your life by getting the bare minimum, and they'll keep you immature forever. You'll never grow up. You'll end up, as many have today with the television generations, ending up in old folks' homes who literally have nothing, no wisdom to pass on to anybody else. And that's a sad state of affairs. They can talk about all the TV programs I've watched since, I don't know, in the 50s or whatever, to the present, their favourite shows and actors and who married who, but they don't know anything else. They had a mind that was kept in fantasy all their lives. That's terrifying to me. It's terrifying to me that people get up in the morning and the radio is blaring generally with the news, and they drive to work, people drive to work listening to the same stuff. They go to their work, they're caught up in the rush and the worry and the scurry, and often there's background music too in a lot of places, and then they come home, the same thing blaring away, and then they come in and they're zonked out, and they get more brainwashing through the news, media and television and all the rest of it. How come all of your time has been so carefully catered to? And you've been taught this is all normal. To understand the reason for it all is no group can bring in this new system. It can be done if folk are in control of their own minds and they decide what they're going to listen to or not listen to anything at all. And unfortunately, people today they're terrified. You look at them; they're fiddling with their phones wherever they go and texting and all the rest of it. People sit in restaurants and cafes with their friends. No one's talking anymore. You realize how important it is to keep you from communicating real thoughts, self-thoughts, your own thoughts. You realize that that's the most terrifying thing to those who say that they're controlling it all. That's the most terrifying thing if it's not working on you. Why isn't it working on you? If too many folk are affected and it's not working on them anymore, and they're stopping and thinking for themselves in silence. You know that odd thing, that rare thing called silence today? That could be dangerous. You'd have to try and stop that. Or create an instant crisis so you're wrapped up thinking you're fighting for your life or something. And they would do that too. But still, you got to go on and do it. You start thinking for yourselves. Turn everything off once in a while and really sit and think. Sit and think. An odd thing these days, but sit and think for yourself. Stop thinking the person on television or this professor that knows more than you do, and he's more important. While I'm only small, so my thoughts aren't important at all. Stop thinking that way. Stop it and see what happens. That's freedom for you. Understanding is freedom. Understanding. And not being collapsed by bad news or impending doom. The studies were done during the Cold War on the public of both nations, the Soviet system or group and the Western. The studies on the fear of being annihilated by nuclear war were so intensely studied. It was so important to find the same techniques and use other reasons for terrifying the public. That's where it all started, And I used to be amazed when this top scientists from Britain and the US and so would go over to Russia every year for the annual science meetings, meeting the same scientists or opposition over there, working on the same things. Do you really think that was a Cold War? When they said that the top sciences of any country, those are the ones with the top sciences, superior sciences, would defeat the other. Well, how would they be letting their top scientists share all this information? It was a joke, folks. The goal was always for a world governmental system. The Soviets were for it, and so was the West. The top capitalists were for it. And here we are. It's all been done pretty well, eh? And they've got you stampeding again with this and that. You don't get a minute to breathe here. When you think something's finished over in that country, bingo, they're hitting another one. Oh, that's all you'll hear. And when you're completely absorbed with all that, look at all the laws they're ramming down, which take away all the pretense of freedom and rights. So by thinking, at least you can free yourself from it and keep your sanity. Keep your sanity. You got to keep your sanity. There's nothing else out there. Nothing else out there. And keep warm, by the way. Those that are freezing up, because it's one heck of a winter here for sure. And I know for a fact this winter, with the heavy manipulation and the heavy chemical spraying in the skies are still going on during all these deep freezes and heavy snowstorms, they'll turn it into perpetual rain come the spring here. I guarantee you, and it's going to be flooding. So you got another crisis on the go. Then they'll say it's global warming. This is going to happen. Oh, it was because we're destroying the atmosphere and we're going to pay massive, massive carbon taxes, and they'll really hype it up. And it's probably already written up, including all the presentations recorded in advance, and they'll just let it all go at once. And they'll guide us in the right conclusion. Well, we can't keep driving on the roads, for goodness sake. Before you know it, you're into Agenda 21 with no private vehicles getting owned anymore, except for the very wealthy who can afford all the incredibly high taxes and penalties and carbon taxes and so and CO2, etc., etc., etc. It's rather boring, isn't it, living in this life when you know what's coming down the pike? It really is. But at least you don't go into shock when the next thing happens. You know what's going to come down the pike. So, as I say, sort of a ranting on here, but I've been busy this week, as I say, shoveling and all the rest of it, and trying to keep warm, and it's bad enough trying to get out a driveway. It's an awful long driveway, but constant snow coming down, and the roads too aren't ploughed right to the ground. They always have a sheet of ice left at the end of it, and you've got to crawl over that sometimes. So I've been awfully busy, doing a lot of things too, and I hope you're all keeping well and keeping your own sanity and finding yourselves as well, and thinking for yourselves. So from Hamish, who's my wonderful pooch, who's fed up with winter too, by the way, it's good night, and may your God or your gods go with you.